Last month, I made $125,000 with my SMA that I built using AI. And if you're not using AI to build your SMA in 2025, you are lagging behind. I'm not gonna talk about this for half an hour about why it's so important to use AI. Just quickly explained, when you use AI, you're able to replace the human resources you previously had or would need in your agency. So you need less people, which means that your agency becomes leaner, it's easier to manage, you have higher margins, and AI is able to consistently do tasks that humans would at times forget, because we are humans. Even if you have the most perfect VA, he or she will at some point forget to do a task, or stuff will go under the radar. They will not notice issues that maybe are there that AI would notice and notify you of if like a system goes down, stuff like that. So it's just better for the scalability of your agency to use AI, and it also makes your agency more exitable or sellable if you decide to at some point sell it. If it's built using AI with systems that run without people, it's more attractive to buyers. So those are kind of the main reasons behind why you should really focus on implementing as much AI as possible in your agency. I'm not saying to overcomplicate your agency and have systems you otherwise wouldn't have, but just replace what would otherwise be done by humans. And this happens in all three parts of the agency. So you have the acquisition, you have the service delivery, and you have the internal operations. Any task or activity you do in your agency can be put into one of these three buckets, and I'll go through each one of these in this video. So let's jump into acquisition, the most burning topic on most agency owners' minds that are stuck below that 10K a month mark and want to get to 50K a month when you begin earning some serious money with your agency. And the acquisition strategy I used to scale my own agency was sending cold looms through email. Cold outreach, you can call it. I call it warm outreach because it's a completely different way of sending cold outreach. You have this super personalized approach where you don't blast tens of thousands of people with your emails. You select a select few ones that you want to work with. You send them personalized videos. They have a crazy appointment booking rate. Yes, they take more effort per unit sent, so you can only send like 30 to 40 a day if you really lock in on it and make it a habit. But those 30 a day will be more valuable than the other 10,000 emails you would otherwise send. So I have an entire video breaking down exactly how this acquisition strategy works. I'll link to it down in the description. But the point is that I use AI to make this system work. And the first thing I use AI for is generating lead lists. So you have apps like Apollo.io or Apollo.ai. And what it does is that it uses AI to scrape leads from LinkedIn. So it uses LinkedIn as its core base of information. It scrapes leads and it gives you the most relevant leads for you using AI. So with any like ChatGPT or any other AI model, it's important to prompt it correctly. So when you log into Apollo, it will ask you for a couple different criteria that you want your leads to have, what kind of industry they're in, how many employees they have, how much revenue they're doing. But once you prompt it correctly, it will give you the most relevant leads, and you will spend 10 minutes a day on lead sourcing max. While with other models and just doing stuff manually, it can take hours and hours and hours just to compile a good list of leads. So what I did is that every evening I scraped leads using Apollo, leveraging their AI systems, preparing this list for tomorrow that I would then send Loom videos to. So you record those Loom videos. There is really no way to automate that with AI, and that's kind of the beauty of this model. Everyone is trying to automate their cold outreach, like making personalized emails that scrapes their website or their LinkedIn page, adds this like bullshit personalization that people immediately feel. While with this model, we are trying to be personalized. So you record videos for those 30 prospects. Again, it's important to know when to use AI and when not to use AI. I'm not telling you to outsource everything to AI, because then it's just not going to work. People don't respond to AI outreach as well as they do to personalized outreach. So whatever is on the back end, you outsource that to AI, but stuff that actually requires your face to be effective, you still have your face in it. You don't use those, AI voice changers or 11 Labs to generate those Loom videos, because people can still see that they're fake. Maybe in a year, it will be possible to make those Loom videos with AI, but right now it's not, so we don't do it. So you record those Loom videos, you add them to your sheet, and then you have Lemlist actually send them out. So Lemlist is an email software that again leverages AI. First, it's pretty basic. It just sends out the emails, but then based on the responses, it categorizes those responses based on their AI model. So it tells you if someone is interested, if they're not interested, just makes the process simpler. And then once replies begin coming in, you just end up booking those guys in. So that's kind of the main acquisition strategy I use. Again, I'm not going to spend an hour talking about it because I have an entire video breaking down exactly how it works. If you're interested, you can check that out after this video. But that's how I leverage AI in this cold outreach system. I also have a personal brand. So my personal brand is built on LinkedIn. Why LinkedIn, you might ask? Well, because it's a blue ocean. Basically, nobody uses LinkedIn for their agency. I've seen very few agency owners that consistently post on LinkedIn and actually give away value compared to, YouTube or Instagram. It's flooded with personal brands right now. LinkedIn is a blue ocean, so I really recommend that. And what I use AI for when building my personal brand, when making content, is basically everything. So ideating content using AI, you feed it all your other posts. Once you actually have some posts, you feed it the data behind those posts. So how many likes did they get? How many comments did they get? Most importantly, how many leads did they get? Because some types of content, they get a ton of likes and a ton of impressions, like super top of funnel content, but it doesn't actually get you buyers, which is all we care about. I'd rather have, 200 views on my LinkedIn post and get 10 leads from it than have 1 million views and get 1 lead from it. Lead flow is all we care about. We want to make more money. We don't want to be famous. At least I don't want to be with my personal brand on LinkedIn. It's simply a strategy for getting more clients. So you ideate content using AI. I've built a custom Claude GPT where I've given it as much context as possible. I've fed it all my winning posts. I've fed it all my winning data for those posts. I fed it what people actually respond to, like my personal experience with what people say on calls. Like, okay, I saw your post that talked about this new Meta AI and job update. That was interesting. I ended up booking a call. So I feed all of that to AI, and then I use that to just create the basic outline for my post. So the basic ideas. It's amazing at just taking data that already exists and like shuffling it around and kind of restructuring it to give you new ideas. But AI won't give you completely new creative ideas. So for this to work, you already have to feed it with some working content. So if you have shit in, you'll get shit out. If you have good content in, you will get good content out. That's kind of the outline of how I use AI to ideate and come up with new ideas for my content on LinkedIn. I then also write the outline with AI. Give me 1 second. So again, there is a very specific way to write posts on LinkedIn that works. You want to tell stories. You want to have this very split up structure where you don't have huge blocks of text. You want to have one line, then have a space, then another line, then a space, then another line. So just ask AI to kind of draft up what the post should look like. So this is going to be the hook. Then we kind of expand on the hook. Then we have the main body. Then we have the recap of the entire post, and you have like a TLDR, a CTA at the end. Just ask it to, just help you with the general outline of the post, and then you can actually personally go in and begin doing the changes and actually writing out the post. But ask AI to do the grunt of the work, make it do the hard work, and then you just go in and use your creativity to fill in that post and actually post it. And posting and analyzing also happens through AI. So there are tons of different softwares for LinkedIn. I'm not going to recommend the specific one because they change all the time, but just search it up like LinkedIn Analytics software, or if you still decide to post on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, you can also search up an Instagram Analytics software, a YouTube Analytics software. Basically, a software that you can schedule your posts through, and then once they go live, it will analyze those posts and give you feedback. So this post worked well. It had a strong hook. A lot of people actually ended up reading it. More people left comments than usual, or less people left comments than usual. So you should probably not do this. Just have an analytics software, because you, with your, let's call it monkey brain, will not be able to spot all those patterns when you just have a ton of different posts. You're just looking at them. Okay, this one performed well, this one didn't. You're just not able to aggregate all that data and actually draw those conclusions, while AI can. So it will analyze it for you and give you those conclusions, and you use those conclusions to make your own conclusions about what you should do again in the future. And again, remember, this software won't know which people actually ended up becoming customers. So you have to use your own brain and use your own analytical ability to then filter and understand if, okay, this makes sense because it did give me leads and it did get more comments and more likes and more impressions than usual, or okay, maybe it did get more impressions but it didn't get me any leads. So again, you have to have your own critical thinking involved here, but use AI for what it's worth. So that's the personal brand side. We've covered how I do the cold outreach, how I do the personal brand, book calls from personal brand. Then you have the actual sales process. So before you jump on a sales call, you want to do some research on the client. This is such a cheat code. Just spend 10 minutes researching before the call. You look into the person's profile. Maybe they've recently had a baby. So if they jump on a call, you're like, congrats on like the fatherhood, congrats on becoming a father. They will already be much warmer and closer to you. Do some research on the company, understand exactly what they're going through. Maybe they had a new merger or acquisition recently, figure out when they started, all that stuff. And all that can be done through AI. So you plug in their website, the person's LinkedIn profile, any other links you can find, and you just ask AI to analyze it and give you the closest tidbits it can get you that you can then bring up on the call. It will make you so much more prepared, and it will feel like you've actually put in some effort when you jump on the call, because you have put in some effort and you have actually prepared for the call. Then you have the sales process. So again, I have an entire video breaking down my sales process, but the way it works is it's a 3-step 2-call close process. So we have the first step, which is a discovery call, just to get to know the person, understand their issues, understand their ambitions, where they want to get with this business. Then we have an audit in the middle, where we get access to their ad accounts. We do a free audit. We give our insights. We tell them, this is wrong, this is good, we're going to do this if we were to manage the account. And then you have a sales call to actually sell them on the service. So you get any questions they might have from the audit. Usually they're already like 95% pre-sold, so it's just like technical objections, and they end up closing. And where we use AI in this process is for the actual audit. So when you get access to the ad account, you can have a GPT trained up to actually do the audit. You like feed it screenshots of the ad account. It tells you, okay, this campaign is not doing well, let's analyze it further. So you just use AI to kind of guide you through that audit process to make it much more streamlined. You don't have to actually do much thinking. You just kind of cooperate with the AI to draw conclusions, and then use that in the audit to explain what's working, what's not, and then also to present your ideas for what you would do if you were to work with that client. This is exactly how I have a 30-35% close rate on my sales calls, which is kind of unheard of in the SMMA space. It's usually like 10 to 15%. So use it wisely. Again, I'll drop a link to it down below. Go ahead and check that out after this video. And also, by the way, if you are running an SMA, if you are stuck below 10K a month, you want my help with scaling your agency to that 50K a month mark, reach out to me on Instagram, send me a DM. I've recently opened a mentorship so we can discuss working together. I am pretty picky with who I work with, but whatever, if you want to send a DM, do it. If not, I don't really care. Let's keep rolling. Next part is the service delivery. So I've covered an acquisition, how I use AI in every single step, how to send the cold outreach, how to do the personal brand, how to do the actual sales process. Now let's talk about the service delivery, how to deliver an amazing service to your clients. And this is so important. I really want you to whip out a notebook and begin taking notes now, because people don't talk nearly enough about how important service delivery is in your agency. It's something I've been hammering in on my YouTube for like a year and a half now, since I began posting weekly on here. And the reason it's so important is because if you have the best service delivery in your space, you will never struggle with getting clients, because you'll have amazing case studies to show to. I still suck at sales. I don't have any objection handling experience. I don't know how to, use all these sales tactics because I've never needed them. When people jump on calls with me, they're already pre-sold. They're ready to work with my agency. I don't need to sell them. They kind of have to sell themselves because we're becoming so picky with who we work with that they have to begin proving to us that we should want to work with them, not the other way around, which is an amazing feeling to have. And that's what happens when you have amazing service delivery. The second reason why service delivery is so important is that you will never churn clients if you have amazing service delivery. Because think about it, who wants to end their partnership with an agency that's earning them a shit ton of money? Nobody does. So churn will become completely irrelevant for your agency. Again, solving a huge bottleneck most agencies have. And number three, you will get more referrals than you know what to do with, because 95% of business owners know other business owners in that same space. So if you deliver an amazing result for, let's say, a golf brand, they are very, very likely to refer you to another golf brand, because birds of a feather flock together. So remember that if you solve the service delivery, basically all your other issues will become obsolete. But how do we actually supercharge our service delivery with AI? Well, let's get into it. So first of all, what happens when you sign a new client? You have the onboarding, the first initial part of the partnership. And what we do here is that we always do market research for our clients. So we deep dive into their market. We understand their product. We understand which exact pain points their product solves for. We understand which angles we can use in our marketing. So we have the pain points. We have the audience that we're targeting. How can we communicate the value of our product that hits those pain points in a unique way? All of that happens in the market research, and that market research is done using AI. I have a template for our market research document. If you want access to that, you can send me a DM on Instagram and I'll shoot it over to you. Just ask, hey, Alex, please send over the market research doc. And we fill that in using AI. So we feed it to ChatGPT. We give it all the links. We give it all the info we personally have. And then we get ideas from ChatGPT. Often it catches stuff that we didn't even really think about. Sometimes it comes up with some cool ideas or cool ways we could take the marketing that sparks some internal discussion that we then extrapolate into this market research document. It's very rare that we get something from AI, we just copy it and paste it straight into the market research doc, because it's not good at creativity. It's not good at sounding human-like, but it will get the creative juices flowing and it will allow you to make a much better market research doc than if you were doing it without AI. And then the next part of the onboarding is the onboarding statics. So every time we onboard a new client, we produce an initial batch of 10 statics for that client that we immediately launch in the account. So our goal is to have our first batch of ads live within like 3 to 4 days of working with a client. So what we do is that we produce those statics using AI. So the headlines in those statics, based on the market research document, we ask AI to make some headlines. We pick out the best ones, maybe tweak them a little bit. The ideas for the actual headlines, for the actual statics, what we should show in them, just use AI to supercharge that process, make it super quick, have those, as I said, statics out within 3 to 4 days. Amazing client feedback when they were expecting stuff to take weeks, like it usually does with agencies. They sign an agency with an agency, they have like this week of doing market research, then they begin producing the first statics, then it goes for approval, while we have stuff already launched within 3 to 4 days, which is only possible when you're using AI, because we just wouldn't have enough human like hours in the day, even with our team of like 13 or 14 people now, to produce that for every new client if everything was done manually. So again, remember, the goal with AI is to reduce the amount of human hours necessary to run your agency and deliver an amazing results. That's kind of how we onboard new clients using AI. Then we have the creative development process. So of course, a paid ads agency consists of two parts. You have the media buying side, the actual like technical stuff you do in the ads manager, and then you have the creative development part. So producing the actual creatives that will be used in those ads, the images and the videos. And how we use AI in this creative development pipeline is that we use AI to analyze content weekly. So our creative strategist, which was my co-founder at some point, now we've outsourced that role because we're doing like 125K a month. So again, this is just like a quick like side note, but don't do what I'm doing, like copy exactly what I'm doing at my stage and try to implement it in your own agency, because I am like a couple steps ahead of you. I'm doing 125K a month. If you're watching this video, chances are you're stuck around that 10K a month mark. So again, just don't try to copy what I'm doing, because what I'm explaining in this video is what I was doing when I was at 10K a month and how I got to 50 and 100K a month. This is not exactly how we're doing stuff now, because the way we're doing stuff now isn't relevant for you anymore. So going back to the video, creative development, we analyze the content weekly using AI. So we use Motion, which is a creative analytics software. It gives us a lot of insights, but we also feed those insights into our custom GPTs that we have in Claude that then analyzes that content, finds patterns that, okay, maybe focusing on the gifting angle during December works really well. It worked well last year. It's working well the first week of December. Let's do more of that this month. And then we use that to actually produce new creative. So again, just asking AI to aggregate the data, find the patterns, and then draw some conclusions that you then use to draw your own conclusions for what to produce more of that specific week. We also use it to brief out new content. So we get the ideas from ChatGPT, we refine those, or Claude, wherever you want to use. We refine those, and then we have to create new briefs. So actually write out what we are going to be producing that week. That's called a brief that you then send to your graphic designer or your video editor, or if you're still doing the graphic design and the video editing, you produce it yourself based on a brief. But that brief is just basically like a context document that explains exactly what we want to achieve with this new creative. And again, briefing can be done by AI. It's just basically extrapolating and explaining your idea in a more structured way that your team or yourself can use to actually produce the creative. So again, have a custom GPT for that you then feed all this context, you feed it the idea, you tell it what you want to achieve, and then it actually ends up producing the brief for you. Lastly, analyzing numbers. It kind of goes hand in hand with analyzing the content weekly, but we are using Motion AI, which is a creative analytics software, as I said, that pulls data from the Facebook Ads Manager. It gives you tons more statistics that you don't see in Meta. So like thumb stop, hook rate, like different types of hook rates. It has like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different KPIs that you can use to actually analyze those ads. And it also gives you some AI conclusions. So based on those numbers, it tells you what's doing well, what's not, and just helps you in this whole creative development process. So really recommend implementing Motion in your own agency. It is pretty pricey, so don't really go there until you're doing at least 10K a month, but it's super useful for when you have a very structured way to develop creatives like we have in my own agency. We have a weekly cadence. So on Monday, our creative strategist does the analysis, then he briefs out over a couple days, then those creatives are produced on Thursday, Friday, and then they're launched on Monday again next week, and then the whole process continues. So every single week we're analyzing and producing new creatives, which is again supercharged by us using Motion. Lastly, on the service delivery side, we have the launching, testing, and scaling of ads. So this is like the technical stuff you do in the Ads Manager, in the Meta Ads Manager or Google Ads Manager, whatever ads you are providing for your clients. And the key here is to just work with Meta. Meta has an amazing AI. They've spent billions of dollars developing it to make your life as an advertiser easier and to let you hit your ideal customer as easily as possible. So what you do here is that you use broad targeting. So when you are setting up the targeting for your ad, you want to make sure that in most cases you use broad targeting. You allow Meta to find those pockets itself. You don't restrict it. Sorry. You don't restrict it to only target the audiences you think work, because you are limited with, again, your monkey brain. Allow the AI to find new pockets, allow it to find new target audiences, use broad, and then once you have a proof of concept, then you can do more, defined testing and scaling with specific audiences, but use the AI for what it's worth. Next, we also use Advantage Plus placements in our ads. So we allow Meta to decide where it is going to be showing the ads, if it's going to be in the Instagram feed or the Instagram stories or Facebook feed or the like side banners that are on Facebook. There are like tens of different placements. We allow Meta to decide for us which placement it is going to be using. And the core idea here is to just trust the algorithm to do its job, because again, it has costed billions of dollars to develop, so it is much smarter than you will ever be in trying to micromanage it. Last but not least, not as important as the acquisition and the service delivery, is the internal operations. How to make your agency as lean as possible internally, how to have as few people as possible, how to make sure that stuff is being followed up on actively, and the people in your agency are doing what they're supposed to without having blockers from other team members. That's the internal operations, and how we streamline those internal operations using AI. So first of all, the Slack structure. You want to have a Slack structure that is connected to your meeting recaps. So have a separate channel, either per client or a just general channel for all meeting recaps, that uses an AI note taker to take notes throughout the calls and then send that back to Slack. So I use Fathom, Fathom.video, something like that. That is an AI note taker. It joins the calls, and then at the end, it sends the recap back to Slack so that everything is logged in Slack. I can always go back and look at what we talked about, what the main talking points were, what the main to-dos were from that meeting. And it's just been immensely valuable, especially for reporting at the end of the month. So when you get to the end of the month, you are going to be sending reports to your clients, and you have to recap everything that has been done that month, all the wins, all the losses, all the new learnings. And what better way to do that than through an AI that has followed all your internal meetings and taken notes and given you recaps, so you don't have to actually dig through stuff manually. You just ask it what has been done in the last month, and it will give you a clear bullet point list of all the changes that have been done in the account. So super valuable. Really recommend installing that. It is free. We have a team plan now, which costs like 30 or 40 bucks a month, but you can use it for free. So take notes. Next, distributing tasks with AI. So we use Asana to manage all the tasks in my agency. It's like a task management software. So Slack is for communication, Asana is for task management. And in there, we have a ton of different automations that distribute tasks to different people based on their role and based on who they are. So if we have a creative that goes for launch, it's ready for launch, and it is on Meta, and it is on a specific client that is managed by one of our media buyers, it will be assigned to that specific media buyer. If it's a different media buyer, it will be assigned to that specific media buyer. Even though everything goes through the same creative development process, it just filters based on who is responsible for that client and what kind of platform it is on. So it streamlines the entire process, makes it so easy to manage, because I don't have to do anything. It just goes through the creative development process. Stuff moves automatically. It is assigned to the right people by Asana. It is followed up on with the right people by Asana. So if someone isn't performing their task, they will get a reminder in a couple of days to complete that task. And I don't have to do anything. It just does everything for me. It's basically the glue that holds everything together. It puts together all the puzzle pieces, and then the people just have to do whatever is on their to-do list. They don't have to actually manage their to-do list in any way. It's done automatically by Asana using AI. That's it. It's that simple. It's not easy. It has taken some time to set up those systems. And again, I've built my own agency to 125K a month, so I have all these systems. So if you want my help with scaling your agency, reach out to me on Instagram. Let's talk about it. Other than that, I hope this video was valuable, and have a blessed week.